The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here he is, Brandon.
Welcome back to the Brandon Peters Show and the ongoing 60s Batman at 60 series, where I and a guest travel through the inaugural season of the television phenomenon of 1966. Joining me today and returning to this show, returning special guest villain from the Outside Scoop, the Box Office Podcast, and Puck News, it's Scott Mendelson.
I am so happy to be back to be discussing the Riddler. Ooh, I can't do that thing where like the last word of the sentence rises like it's a syntax that something like that. But
it doesn't
like
sound like it's gonna end.
Is there anyone else that does that speaks like that?
I don't know.
I mean, because I don't want to say he's the only guy that does that. Obviously, he's in character, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
but I can't think of any other actor and or character that talks with that exact syntax, which is one of the reasons why I love the character. But anyway, I'll shut up now.
Well, yeah, and as we talked about in the previous, this is the third appearance we'll be talking about the Riddler today. Jonathan Graves mentioned that, like he's given Shakespearean level performances of this character.
He is
so
this specific, yeah.
For a guy who's described himself as thinking he was the next James Cagney, is what the word is about him. That it's crazy. He's all in here. Yeah, I really could see him. Yeah, I could see that if he's being pitched by an agent around Hollywood, I could see that as their selling point. Scott, you've been here already. We've talked your history of Batman, but today we got a special thing that you brought up. This Cinefantastique issue from 1994, which you bought me a copy. And you said, this, I'd never heard about this. And you said it was like this crazy. I'm not like, oh, what kind of weird stuff did they say? No, there's not weird stuff. It is crazy because they have buried a gigantic lead on this cover. On this bottom thing, it's like Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Okay, that's all well and simple. It's a double issue. But it says commemorative double issue, the enduring Cape Crusader from comics to Adam West, Michael Keaton, and the movie debut of the animated adventures. Okay, cute. They're going to do a little Batman stuff. No, it's like a 70-page expose on Batman 66 hidden in here. This is a book you could put on shelves.
Well, there is a reason for that.
Like, it starts... Yeah. It's nuts.
Hold on, let me find.
This is. I didn't get a chance to read it all because I was like, oh, I'll read this article Scott was talking about. No, it is there's a section on each villain, the music, the Batmobile, the graphics, the set design, and just a full on going through making the pilot through all the. It's got an episode guide within it too with rating, and not just like here's the thing. They write shit down. Like this is nuts. It is huge, and they just act in the art. This is all they talk about it right here. That's it. It's in the bottom corner. Like how did this get buried? And then they do the same thing with Batman the animated series. It's just obviously not as long, but they do the same thing there. And they also, the cool thing is like time capsuled. Here's your sneak peek at Batman 3 starring Michael Keaton, directed by Joel Schumacher of St. Elmo's Fire, but they also mention his work. Oh, they said to try to beef him up. St. Elmo's Fire, Flatliners, Falling Down, and they mention he worked with somebody. Oh, that he was a former costume designer of such films as Annie Hall. So, yeah, Michael Keaton.
Did you hear the news? Robin Williams is totally going to be the Riddler.
Yeah, and it said Robin Williams seems to be the front runner to be the Riddler. If not him, John Malkovich.
Yeah.
So
there are actually two covers.
Okay.
I like Batman animated series. It's the one that I grew up on. It's the one that I bought when I had a choice. So that's the one that I ordered.
Okay. Still, I don't think it really lets you know on the cover, no, we're going deep, guys.
Cinefantastique was probably, especially for nerd shit, probably the
Hmm.
best movie magazine of the 80s and 90s, just because it was so in depth, it was so detailed, and it was so unauthorized in the sense that, like, to the extent that I knew about like the MPAA struggles of the entire horror genre of the 80s and 90s, it's because of that magazine.
Hmm.
I mean, yes, I love Premiere, I love Starlog, Entertainment Weekly, blah, blah, blah. But Cinefantastique, it was always a little bit more expensive. And the double issues were $10, which was huge for a magazine in like the 80s and
Well, like if
90s.
you want a nice magazine like that, like Fangoria was like $6 or $7.
Yeah.
It was an expensive one.
Um, but
But
yeah, so this was always a treat.
like going back through this, like we're such dog shit society nowadays. Like just read like this was carefully curated,
Mhm.
researched, interviewed, probably went through drafts, edits, laid out big everything. And I'm like, this is really for a magazine. This is really nice. And now it's like I don't know. Like I just
Not that.
not that at all. And we're littered with. And when someone does stuff like that, nobody cares. Nobody fucking cares. They don't. I don't. It's not gonna make me angry. It's like no. It's like where is that? Like we need that. People try
Well,
that. Like
I think one of the key issues, and this is not a new problem, even recently, which is that you have an interview or a piece of news or a deeply researched article that gets
hmm
published somewhere, and the end result is more coverage slash awareness slash traffic, or however you want to get, comes from like the main, the bigger newspapers and trades jump covering that content.
yeah.
So, the original article, it's like, I'm the one that broke this news, but the few times I had broken news for Forbes, one of the reasons
hmm
why I didn't try to do it all that much is like all that would happen is that it would get jump covered by Variety and Hollywood Reporter, and everybody would retweet those versions.
Yeah. And yeah, and you're barely mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, you've
this
lived
is
in
not
that
worth my
world.
while.
You were in that
Yeah.
world and yeah. That's what
Um,
happens. And yeah. And I'm not gonna dislike bloggers and stuff like that because they shed light on whole new areas of film to get taken seriously or changed differently. But man, this writing style just I mean, it's probably because it's like, you know, asexual and just straight to, to the point.
yeah,
There's no feeling behind it, but like the feeling shouldn't be from the writer. It should be from the interviews and make that come
yeah,
out to you and stuff with that, which you get a lot from the Don Butler, the director of the pilot. He appears with a lot of good words because a lot of these people have passed and now, but they're like here. This is where you can find it. I had a coffee table book, uh, Batman 66, and it is nowhere near as good as this article
yeah.
is. And I
And
in preparation for this, I looked for like, I wanted a book on it. There's no book on Batman 66 to just read. It's this Santa. What I wanted
yeah,
is right here, and there's no documentary or even a short like. There's nothing like. And I'd love the documentary, but everybody's past we'd be using old interviews and stuff like it's just I think that the time has passed to tell it really I don't know like I don't
most of them are dead.
yeah most of them are dead the engagement and like understanding the 60s television landscape at the time which was such a great era in television is that Scott can you remember is the 60s television the golden age the first golden age of television is that what the decade was
I would
considered
have to assume by default,
because
although
I'm
again,
look
I'm not a television scholar per
yeah
se.
just
But
I think it's here because like
yeah,
I mean, looking at the ratings and stuff and what's playing with Batman, you have like just in the same year, Get Smart starts, but you also have like the Munsters are playing, Adam's Family. You have just like got Bonanza's on, Virginian's a big one, but like I think like there's a lot of creative. I Dream of Jeannie, Bewitched. There's like all these like creative genre. Like it was a time of like let's make genre shows in a way, which was interesting. Which Batman, while it was wildly different than everything there for a moment. It fit. If you look hindsight, it fit with everything they were doing. They're making horror sitcoms. They're making Bewitched. They've got spy shows on TV. It fits with everything going on.
It really is sort of, to a certain extent, G-rated content notwithstanding, sort of a
Hmm.
one side, basically every genre all boiled into one. Because you get your fisticuffs, you get your martial arts, you get your horror and your mystery and your romance and heists and what have you.
Hmm.
And obviously some of that is emphasized more than others because again, it's a aggressively, intentionally, satirically G-rated television show.
Yeah.
Um, but nonetheless, it's still cinema.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as far as the legacy of the show and the character, and I'm not the first or the last person to say this, but this show basically saved Batman in
Yeah.
that the comic was basically irrelevant culturally. This was the dawn of Make Mine Marvel, where you had Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and other people whose names I should know, mea culpa, that were, what if superheroes were relatable and nuanced and had normal problems that befuddled you and me? So, the cool shit was at Marvel.
Hmm.
And if not for the show, I mean, there was real possibility the comic book was going to get canceled.
Yeah.
And obviously, if that happened, for better or worse, the legacy of Batman basically would have stopped in the 1960s.
Yeah. And I mean, stepping stones here, but without this show, without Cesar Romero as Joker, the Joker doesn't become just outside of comic books, just in the pantheon of villainry, one of the greatest villains of all time. Because you have Cesar Romero here, leap go to Jack Nicholson there. I mean, like, and Joker's just everybody knows the Joker. Everybody thinks of him highly as one of the greatest arch nemesis villains of all time, despite the media it's in. Like, it's just there's so many villains in the history of villainy in media and stuff, and Joker rises above, and it starts here. Even though we're talking about the Riddler here today, but just there's an ascension with the
Well,
Joker that
and you've mentioned this once or twice, but the Riddler had appeared in like I think two stories in the comics in 1948
yeah,
and
yeah,
meant
yeah,
nothing until this show came out.
yep,
And because of that, what we think of the Riddler is Frank Gorshin for all intents and purposes.
yeah.
I
One
mean,
of
yes, the
yeah.
costume was the same, but not all the costumes. As you mentioned, the suit and
Hmm.
tie thing, that's from the show. Anyway, you were
Hmm.
saying.
Well, one of the Riddler, the second Riddler comic, which one of the episodes is based off of, he's literally getting out of jail and trying to be like, "Hey, Batman, remember me? Remember me? Remember me?" And Batman's like, "I don't know, we got things to do, man." And he's like tries to help Batman solve a crime, so he's like, "I'm the Riddler, damn it!" And that's where he was at. And they basically took
Yeah.
a C or D level villain and made him A list.
And in retrospect, especially, that was very smart because, just for preparation for this, because I hadn't seen them in a while, I went back and watched the two previous Riddler two-parters, including,
Hmm.
of course, the pilot. And you're using a character like the Riddler that doesn't have the kind of overbearing pop culture emphasis already, so you can focus on Batman. You can
Yeah,
introduce the world of Batman. Same thing like, the quote unquote pilot of Batman the Animated Series, it was Batman versus Man Bat. Who the fuck is Man Bat? Who cares?
yeah.
It allows you to tell a Bruce Wayne Batman centric story.
And introduce style and that hey,
Yes.
this show is going to have an adult slant on it. Like, and
Yeah,
it's
it's going to be appropriate for kids, but
mhm.
adults will find much to enjoy here.
And it's a more
And
visually dynamic
yeah,
episode too, which helps. And it just is like I remember that premiered on a Sunday night,
yeah.
and it was like, whoa,
And it's
like
it's it's fun how, especially going back, how good of a pilot it is in terms of
mhm.
establishing the world and the characters and even the gadgets to a certain extent. And like the first two episodes of, we watched the first two, Batman episodes, they're very careful to like explain everything,
Yeah,
even more so than they would in future episodes for obvious reasons. I mean, the first thing Bruce Wayne says is, if this kind of anti-crime organization had been around when my parents had been murdered, like, okay, now we know.
yeah.
Um,
Well, and it's funny
and
too if you think about it too. Chris Nolan launches his Batman with Raish, whatever
mhm.
pronunciation you go, Al Ghul, known to comic nerds and people who stuck with the animated series, but not household name, along with Scarecrow, who was supposed to be the next big one that would have, made him if they would have made Batman triumphant, he would have been at the center of that, and maybe people go see that and go, oh yeah, he's Scarecrow, but yeah, he went and Mr. Zaz. He went with Those
Oh yeah, of
three.
course.
So
Who, just because he's like a creepy looking serial killer, has probably had more adaptations than almost any other
right,
Batman villain other than the Joker.
yeah.
Because there's always room for Zaz. You can just
Uh,
throw him in somewhere.
you don't have to have someone sit in a chair or make an elaborate costume
Yeah.
for him too. And yeah, very true, very
Um,
true.
and
Real quick here before we get into this episode, I mentioned earlier. Do you remember? So, like being a big Riddler fanatic stuff. Do you remember the comic run? The three up was I think it was it in Shadow of the Bat or Detective Comic, The Dark Knight, Dark City, where they went all
yes, it was late
paranormal with
80, yes,
yeah,
late 80s, early 90s. I mean, it was like 1989 through 1990.
yeah,
And yeah, the gimmick was that the Riddler is like acting like all the other homicidal lunatic villains,
mm-hmm,
which was very out of character then
yeah,
and mostly now, let's be honest. Where it's like, okay, the Riddler's usually a pain in the ass, but he's running around killing people and kidnapping babies. What the hell's going on here? And
yeah,
spoiler, sorry, it turns out he's kind of like possessed by a demon of some
yeah.
kind
There's
that
like
like
zombie
it's
stuff in
relates to
it. It's
the
wild.
yeah, it's a good story in its
Yep.
own terms. It traces back to like Gotham's origins in terms of the alongside the Revolutionary War and
Mm-hmm.
spoiler, the founding fathers did a bad thing.
Yeah.
Um,
But nowadays, that's
and
the
so
kind
yeah,
of weird shit I want them to be making movies on.
yeah,
Nowadays, because like I say all the time, I am more than satisfied with Bat. He's my favorite superhero. But when they're making a new one, I'm not like, oh, I'm like, okay, I'll go see it. It's Batman, but I'm like, I have this show we're talking about. I have the animated series. I have the Tim Burton movies. I have the Christopher Nolan movies. I'm like, what more do I need? Even the Batman show was pretty good. Pretty good.
oh yeah,
It's the
the
Batman the
the
anime.
anime one.
Yeah, its crime was following Batman the animated series as the next
Well,
new
I would
animated show.
also argue it's crime, relatively speaking,
Yeah.
which like, and I don't know why this is the case, but like the first season, mediocre. Second
Mhm.
season, pretty solid. Third season, mediocre. Fourth season, fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Fifth season, mediocre.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's stuff in the fourth season is where, for reasons I don't know if it had anything to do with like the development process on Batman Begins or anything, but they introduced Batgirl before they introduced Robin.
Hmm.
So Batgirl was introduced in season three, and then in season four, Robin shows up, and so first of all, that entire season is Robin and Batgirl basically either preteens or very young teenagers. So there's a certain G-rated flirtation that's very cute. Um, so it's the three of them fighting crime together.
Hmm.
But for whatever reason, the writing was just incredibly sharp. If you watch one season of the mostly forgotten 2004 The Batman, make it season four. But what's weird is I would say the same thing about Gotham. First
Yeah.
season, I stopped watching. Second
Yeah.
season, which I
Yeah.
just got up with later, just partially because BD Wong is Doctor Strange. That should be fun. Um, and it's fine. It's better. Season three, I struggled to finish. And then season four is like, holy shit. All of the villains are fully formed. They look exactly and act exactly like their, comic book counterparts. The only thing missing in this is Batman, weirdly enough. And then, of course, they do the dumb no man's land thing at the end of season four. And I found season five very boring because I am so tired of no man's land.
Yeah. But we have to always be thankful for Gotham because of its existence. We own Batman 1966 on Blu-ray, the complete series.
Yes.
Without that show, we wouldn't have it. So kudos
Um,
to
and it's the one of in a lot of ways at that time, and forgive me, I don't know the names of all the actors, but first of all, it's got the sexiest Riddler and the sexiest Penguin ever, so kudos on that score. And it's got probably the most comic accurate Joker, I guess post No Man's Land of any Batman adaptation.
Hmm.
Unlike Jared Leto, he cut off his face. He was
Right.
committed to the bit. But anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, that's
Um,
another thing where like season four is like 10 times better than everything before or since, and I don't know why.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let's get into our episode here today. The first one of which we'll talk about is the Ring of Wax, which special guest villain returning Frank Gorshin as the Riddler. In this episode, Riddler is going after a library book about the Incas, which may lead to some treasure. That's what he does here in this one. We have other guests here. We have Linda Gay Scott as Moth, which she would star in the movie Westworld. She did 2 episodes of Green Hornet, the Elvis film Clam Bake. If you're listening to Aaron Newerth, he loves just saying clam bake. I don't know why. She was on Lost in Space, Donna Reed, My Favorite Martian, Man from Uncle, and she starred in My Living Doll, an episode of that with Julie Newmar, where Julie Newmar played Rhoda the Robot. It also has Michael Green, who's a character actor. He's one of the goons. But one of the Riddler's goons in this episode is played by Joey Tata, career TV actor, most known as Nat Buccio, the Peach Pit owner in Beverly Hills 90210. He was there the entire run of the series. He owned the Peach Pit where Brandon worked, and was a role model, advisory, old sage to the kids. But he was there for the entire run of 90210. But he's here as a goon for the Riddler. Directed by James B. Clark, who goes on to direct 13 episodes of season 2. Written by Jack Parrots, who's a TV writer, and Bob Rogers, also a TV writer, but he's got notables like writing for The Mary Tyler Moore Show, I Dream of Jeannie, and The Odd Couple. This one is not based on a comic book. So this is the second Riddler story, and the second one not based on a comic book, because they're going to have to start writing them back into comics because of this show. So, Scott, what was your thoughts on this first part of our 2-part story?
The fact that it's not based on a comic isn't a surprise, because I do feel there's a little bit of strain figuring out how to do this show without a source material to play off of.
I
and
totally
avoid
agree.
just sort of going through the motions. This feels very, again, going through the motions. Once you get to the initial crime and Batman shows up and Riddler gets introduced, there's not much left to do. There is a fun scene in a library that's mostly fun because how willfully ridiculous it all is. It's like, you have these people that are, dressed like normal, quote unquote, normal people in the library. And then you have the Riddler's girlfriend who's dressed like a go-go doll. It's like, I wonder if she could be involved.
Well, so Riddler's girlfriend, Moth, she's wearing that purple outfit and stuff. That outfit gets repurposed for Batgirls in season 3. That exact outfit.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So if it looks familiar, it's Batgirl's outfit for season 3.
And I like, part of it is like, who cares? This is, the Batman show. But it's like when you find out that the big scheme is he wants to get this book so he can go treasure hunting, I'm almost inclined for Batman to say, have fun. Don't die.
Right.
You're probably going to die in the jungle. Have fun. And I will say, one good thing, and again, the acting is on par, the production values are solid. There's not a lot of cinematic oomph in this one, I would argue, comparatively. Even the previous Riddler had some skewed angles and some creative lighting. But the other thing is for better or worse, this is one where I would argue Frank Gorshin kind of cuts loose.
Mm-hmm.
Where, in the first one, it's the pilot. So, there's a certain amount of, you can't go to 11 right away. And even in the second Riddler episode, there's a certain amount of, okay, you have to remember that he's also cold and calculating and a bit of a bastard. But this one, he's just, devouring the scenery nonstop. And he's just doing Shakespeare the entire time.
Yeah.
And it's entertaining, but it's also, it feels less organic to the story that we're watching. It feels almost more like an aside, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What's amusing to me, because you mentioned Murdoch on the last episode, or the one before that with Catwoman, and there's a scene where Frank Gorshin is dressed like George Washington, not literally, but like a Revolutionary War character. And for whatever reason, he looks a lot like a young Michael DeBarge, or at least whatever Michael DeBarge looked like in the 80s.
Yeah.
So there is a certain similarity. And again, you could argue that all of Batman's nemesis are the equivalent of Murdoch on this show.
Could be, yeah.
But that was a weird coincidence in terms of my pop culture, upbringing. But yeah, Gorshin's having a blast. but I think he's sort of the only one having fun here in this one.
Hmm.
You don't have the weird, colorful supporting characters like the goofy, the king dude from the last one that the Riddler kind of sort of was chummy with, but not really.
Yeah.
Um, and again, the fact that like he's going treasure hunting, it removes a lot of the danger. Because again, like he's no longer a threat to Gotham. He's
Hmm.
got this book. Okay, have fun. Don't die. Although if you do, who cares? Um, but whatever. It's the fight scenes are, I would argue, a little half-hearted. Um, it's one that shows up in the middle of the episode only because, well, I guess we need a fight scene now.
We're all in the room
And
together. We probably
yeah,
should fight.
exactly. It just they're unlike I haven't rewatched all previous 18 episodes prior to this, but in terms of the ones I have watched, there's not as much there in the 25 minutes of runtime.
Hmm.
And so this is not one of the better episodes of the first season. And unfortunately, if memory serves, and if I'm wrong, mea culpa, the next Riddler episode, which was about the silent film industry, is also not one of the better ones of season one. That was actually the first two-parter I ever watched. I
Okay.
caught the show when it was airing on Family Channel. Um, that was just, for whatever reason, that was the one in syndication.
Yeah, my first
Um,
Riddler was the previous one, not his first one, but his second one was the
yeah,
first one because it was the late night because they would show them at like 8 or 9, and then there'd be a late night one that wasn't in sync with the other, and I would tape the late night one as well. And then I think I found out like WGN was showing them like in the early in the mornings too, but nerdy like trying to catch them all. Back
oh,
we
of
had
course, of
no
course.
guide, we had no nothing. We were just taping Batman episodes.
We had no options.
We had no options, yeah. So,
Um, but no, I mean, as one or two episodes of like 120, it's harmless, it's fun, it's amusing as a pop cultural artifact. It's always enjoyable to see Frank Gorshin do his thing, because even more than, the other actors, all of whom are very talented and et cetera, he really is trying to go the extra mile. And if I didn't know better, I'd say like he's trying to give a performance that's like real acting in a Batman show. Um, and he's fun. I think he kind of sticks out more in this one than he does in some of the other ones. Anyway, I'll shut up now.
no, you're fine. Like the thing is, I had it too that this one feels thin and stretched out. And but though if I'd have just like plucked this randomly and hadn't seen the show in a long time, maybe I didn't notice. But watching everything up to here, I was like, wow, they don't have much to go with here. I don't know. It wasn't like it wasn't enjoyable, but it just felt a bit more hollow than anything previous to it. And I think part of it was I think the Moth character isn't written as well as she could have been. She seems she should be much more a factor, but they just
He's a
don't
bit
know.
aloof.
Yeah, a bit aloof, and yeah, it helps when there's a random Gothamite person involved in the plot too to help give new chemistry, something to bounce off with Adam West and stuff. I do love when they go to the library and Batman's instantly silent and they have a
Yeah.
conversation. I was like, that's funny. I was like, that's probably maybe the best gag in the episode. I did like I did. It's just weird, yeah, because it just felt like what I don't know what it was. It wasn't like the show wasn't moving, but it also wasn't moving at the same time. It was like,
I think for me, especially in the first part, there's so much screen time taking up with the Riddler basically explaining the elements of his scheme. He has to
yeah,
explain the wax. He has
yeah,
to explain why he wants the book. He needs
right.
to explain why he wants the treasure. And that actually just takes up a lot of the episode.
And do you think maybe it's the sets too, because the library is kind of a boring set, and then from the library
Yeah.
into the vault, which looks like a closet, maybe we're not getting very interesting sets here, or something like that. I don't know, but it's kind of very matter of fact from Batman as well. Getting through here, there's not. Yeah, it's there is a cool part where a hole gets burst in a wall, and it's a cool shot of Batman and Robin analyzing the outside of the hole, which looks pretty unique to the series. But I'm overall, yeah, It's
And also, like, when they're in the library and he randomly pulls out this like sticky spray.
hmm
And again, I don't want to speak out of turn, but that seems more random even by this show standards, or at least this point in the show,
hmm
where like, okay, they just made that up on the spot. Okay.
right.
Um,
I
and
I'll tell you what too. I also had the easiest time of any Riddler episode when writing the script, writing down the riddles as I was watching. I didn't have to pause once, and there were only like four, and normally it's like boom, 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 lots of riddles. So like I have what is black and white and red all over a newspaper, which leads them to evolve to book, which is Batman because they have another riddle: what has branches and leaves and no bark? A library. Robin solves that. The more you take away, the larger it grows, which is a hole by Robin. And wax left on the scene. Sun equals Soleil, which equals the wax museum, which Batman figures out. So, and it's
which
kind of yeah, they start at the wax museum, then they boom boom boom, they're back at the wax museum, and it's like it's circled around, and it
it's like
wasn't
Spectre.
interesting. It's yeah,
Where it's
it's
like, you're in Blofeld's palace. You're running from Blofeld's palace. An hour later, you're back at Blofeld's lair.
yeah, right. Yeah, the opening yeah is weird. Where you have what I think is not a wax thing of Frank Gorshin. It's just Frank Gorshin, like with make
Yeah.
it's and he like tosses red liquid onto everybody in the audience, but yeah, and then they go back there and they're all dressed in these like Revolutionary War patriot outfits. Just kind of neat to see the Riddler dressed up in a disguise of some sorts. The Blowtorn, and he's
Oh,
also the second villain, second episode in a row to steal the Batmobile. Penguin stole it in the previous episode, and that was the first time. So,
um, him and the Penguin, and I'm sure there's others if I keep track, are the ones that like if they thought they could succeed with in legitimate enterprise, they absolutely would because they very much crave the respect of quote unquote civilized society in a
hmm
way that, like the Joker doesn't give a shit about.
yeah,
Um, I mean, Catwoman is arguably like intentionally rebelling against the patriarchy, not to be a cliche,
yeah,
but Penguin's always running for office.
yeah,
Riddler is, and they mentioned this briefly in this episode. If you could put your mind to good use, you could be help the world. And they've actually had that in various comic books and cartoon shows and what have you,
hmm
where he kind of sort of did try to go straight to a certain extent because he is a genius. And if you can say, hey, instead of using your brain power to like do crimes, how about you prove that you're smarter than any criminal by helping us solve crimes?
right.
And those are, when that happens in the comics, it's actually pretty fun because, he's not completely mentally well, but there's a certain, off-kilter nature to that.
I do
Um,
love. Gordon does mention that he's only Riddler. He's only been out for 2 days, and he's doing this, and I'm like, what are your guys' prison sentences? This guy's been for like he said, this is his third appearance on this show. He after the second one, and when you caught him, he should have been locked up for some time, not a couple weeks.
I mean, at the very least, you charge him with Jill St. John's murder, and that's felony murder. It was the commission of a felony.
Yes,
Um, Obviously, he didn't kill her, but she perishes while committing a crime on his behalf. That gets you. That throws the book at you, man.
right.
Um,
It's,
um, but um, sorry, I had a thought, but I lost it. Oh, and again, I have not kept track of this in any way, shape, or form. But does Batman neg Robin a lot in ways that like feel downright schmucky?
a little bit, yeah. Like
Does it,
I'm.
like you dumbass? Aren't you studying French? You stupid shit. Um,
Come on,
uh,
say it. We're going through them. Well, in the previous couple episodes of the
yeah.
Catwoman, he scolds him for not wearing a seatbelt, but
Oh, that's right.
that was due to viewer
That was due to
complaints.
Uncle
And
Sam.
Batman's seatbelt in that shot is like way up here, so you can make sure he's wearing it.
Seatbelts, old chum, so we can be safe.
Yes. Um.
Um,
Oh, they this one does not have a climbing scene, so there's no celebrity cameo. Um.
which When does that start? Because I
I don't. It
remember that
may
being a
be.
part of the show.
I'm not trying to sneak ahead, but I think I'm guessing it might start in the movie, and then they carry it on to the second
Oh,
season. I've only got a few more. We've only got so many left. We'll find out. But yeah, I have a feeling that might be a second
stay
season
tuned,
thing.
viewers.
Stay tuned for
Um,
that. But yeah, that happens. The the blue van that the Riddler and his company use as the third appearance of that criminal blue van in the series. Different villains have used it.
maybe you should
Blue,
impound that particular automobile.
yeah, yeah. You get pulled. That poor regular delivery people pulled over for suspicious vehicle. I drove a maroon four-door Chevy Corsica when I was in high school, and I got pulled over so many times for suspicious vehicle because
Fair.
I guess a lot of people drove it, and I matched the description of somebody driving crime in the area. I got pulled over for, I think three. I think I got pulled over in high school 3, maybe 4 times for suspicious vehicle.
It's
And
like,
I'm like, what
if
did
you're
I
going to
do?
keep me over, I'm going to start committing the crimes.
Yes, you're trying to make me a criminal?
Um,
Yeah.
I do enjoy they're hiding under an abandoned candle factory.
I
That's a
do
nice
like that.
touch.
And I love that every Riddler hideout seems to have like fun signs. Like this one's like, please put out lights. That's what it said. And the other one was like, please like it had like it wasn't like please recycle or pick up after yourself or something like that in his last layer, which was pretty funny. This one his name is his goons don't have like a gang name. Like he had the Mole Hill Mob, and then he had like I forget the second one's name, but they had
Um,
names.
well, they're freelancers.
They're
Times are tough.
freelancers. Yes. Oh, the game where Aunt Harriet that they're playing at the beginning before when the bat phone rings and they're just like picking capitals, that's Bruce egging Dick about knowing stuff. And Aunt Harriet's like, I just love this game of capitals. All right, poor woman.
She is easy to please.
Yeah, but they don't go fishing this time. They go to meet a guy about a fly fishing expert to learn stuff.
They do a lot of fishing on this show.
Yeah. So gadgets on this one are the bat phone, the bat poles, the bat cave, the Batmobile, the bat laser, and the hyperspectrographic analyzer. And then Scott mentioned we do have a fight here, and we get the fight words bam, thwap, two pows, zlonk, and sock. And now, when it has the second pow, it's almost like it was accidentally left on the screen because it like says pow and quickly switches to sock. Did you notice that?
No, but I will
It
take
was
your
like
word
a
for
change.
it.
It was like a change, like jump, and it almost feels like an error, like it was hung up and it like had a hiccup loading or something like that. Because it was like pow sock, and it was in the same thing. I was like, oh, okay,
It's like, what the
interesting.
hell? Is this homicide life on the street?
Very funny there. The Robinisms from this episode are holy mucilage. Boy, wax museums are sure spooky, and holy iodine. So that's why the back of my neck smarts. Our cliffhanger, Riddler knocks out Batman and Robin with his blowgun at the wax museum and hangs them over the enormous candle dipper. It's literally labeled enormous candle dipper that slowly lowers them into it. And I noticed Batman and Robin have a lot of questions as they're being lowered into the candle wax. And like Riddler even goes, yo, guys, whatever. But then he
I'm
spills
not
the
doing this
bean.
fallacy the talking killer shit anymore. Bye bye.
Yeah, then he talks about why he has the book and stuff. But
Yeah.
they lower them in and says, how can we wait till tomorrow night? Same bat time, same bat channel. And that moves us on to our next episode. Give 'em the axe, which once again has special guest villain Frank Gorshin as the Riddler. Same guest stars. In the cliffhanger resolve, Moth complains about the fumes and convinces Riddler to watch from his candle scope. Batman reflects the sun from the roof. There's a crack on the roof. He reflects the sun from it on his highly polished belt buckle to ignite the barrel of chemicals below, which blows up and blows them away from the vat onto the ground. This also convinces the Riddler that Batman and Robin are dead, so he can go to the museum, other museum. Don't be Chief O'Hara. There's two museums here in play, and there's a tomb that the Inca book is gonna like. In one of the tombs, there's just $1 million in treasure or something like that, and Riddlers are gonna get that, but Batman and Robin foil his plan. This way, I mentioned the candlescope. This is the second periscope usage in the series. Zelda the Great had periscope in that episode to watch Batman in the Death Trap. But periscopes will be a thing to watch for things. For my memory serves, this will not be the. I know the movie will have periscopes, but I think other villains will use the art of periscoping in this. And then this is also the second time for the Riddler that he thinks Batman and Robin are dead. The last story with the Riddler, he also thought they were dead. So, Scott, how do you think of this conclusion?
I didn't think it was any exceptionally better or worse than the last one. Um, is this the one where Batman talks to Gordon and says, "Hey, just tell everyone that I'm dead for now," or is that the previous Riddler one? I
Um,
apologize.
I
Watching the other ones backfired on me.
I think they called him once they got out. We're like, hey, dead again. I think they did both times actually.
That's fair.
Possibly, yeah.
Um, but I do appreciate that you get the whole, where Moth says, what's with the fucking riddles? And Gorshin, in his very Gorshin way, basically says, the riddles are the point.
Right. Oh
That's
yeah,
what
that
gives
is a
me
great
pleasure.
moment. Yeah, I
Uh,
have that down. He says, crime is no fun without riddles. I'll have you know that is the main reason I took up this crime game. So,
um,
yeah. Did you notice the bad
but
jump cut after the credits?
yes,
Yeah,
I just
where
figure it
Batman and Robin are
was
hanging, and then the
whatever.
last credit fades, and then they jump down a little bit. It's like, ooh, editing.
Hmm. And I do, oh, I'm sorry, Riddler. You think stealing the Batmobile is gonna be too conspicuous? You're dressed in a green leotard, dumbass. Take the fucking car. Put it in the
Yeah,
garage. Take the
yeah.
car. Um, but other than that, I mean, I think I did appreciate the medieval torture chamber, which was slightly more visually dynamic than the vault or even the wax museum, which we see more than once. But other than that, again, it's sort of like, okay, he's treasure hunting. That means that like really nobody's in danger.
Yeah.
Gotham's not in danger. Batman's only in danger because he's trying to stomp him. And
Foreign
I it's
relations are in danger, Scott. Foreign
you know what? That's
relations.
actually something. Thank you for bringing that up. This is a show that gives a lot of, and I mean this is a compliment. This is a show that gives a lot of mouth space, chit chat to, you know, maintaining good global relations with our allies, which is something that's
Mhm.
sadly irrelevant now. Um, but that is something that's sort of a theme from the very first episode. Where like it's not just that Gotham has to, Batman has to protect Gotham, but like Batman feels he has to make sure that none of the Gotham baddies make a mess of global relations or relationships between allies, between neighboring countries, et cetera, et cetera. And he takes that very seriously.
Mhm.
And that, of course, would come to a head in the movie for by some fluke you've never seen it. We can talk about that later. Um, but that's very much something that's on his mind. And I think it was even, yes, this is a satire, but the fact that Bruce Wayne would be the ideal human being, partially because he gives such a damn about getting along with your neighbors, is another reason why this version of Batman, as goofy as it is now even more endearing and aspirational than he was even, 10, 20, 30 years ago, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It was
Um,
cheese ball then. It's still cheesy now, but you
oh
still
yeah.
think about it. You're like, it's right. Yeah, like he cares. It's why you were on Batman's side, like for these
Um,
things.
and I do appreciate that Robin tries to sell the lie that Batman's actually dead.
Yeah,
That's just interesting.
I believe.
But
There wasn't there a lot. Was he talking to Commissioner Gordon, Commissioner Gordon's like, Batman? He's like, you're Caped Crusader. I think he said it was a good one too. But
I do love how genuinely grateful Gordon is that Batman does what he does.
mhm.
Because there are several episodes, including the pilot, where it's like, we may never know who's under that mask, but gosh darn it, we're grateful that he's out there.
Oh yeah.
Um, and or like when the villain pops up, whether it's the Riddler or the Joker, is like he looks around the office like, anyone in this room think they can handle this guy? No?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we're calling the Bat phone.
Yep. Which happens to be every time we see it.
Yeah.
Nobody in the room could do it. You
Oh,
talk about we're talking about like things starts. There's only one riddle in this episode. Like that's I don't know if they
that
were
does not
like got a
surprise me.
memo to cut down because it's what has four legs, runs day and night, but never gets anywhere. It's a lion fountain apparently, which tells them which museum to be. Batman figures this out, but it's kind of a team effort with him and Robin. They also try to do it. I think this is them kind of maybe at this point in the show getting bored with formula and trying to do some different things because while we don't have a celebrity window cameo, we do have a climb, and it's Robin by himself because the window's too small for Batman to get in, and Robin goes solo for a bit, which um, we'll talk about the fights because Robin gets in a solo fight here. With
Yeah.
the words pow, zam, biff, and crack. So they try to split Batman and Robin up, and then Batman he comes back in and he gets a solo fight too, which is much more of a bigger deal with a lot more words like oof, the 4-0 oof. Um, we get then the sorry, lost my spot there. We get the 4-0 oof. We get I biff times two. Sock, thunk, bam, crunch, awk. This awk was 6Ks. We had an awk with 5Ks before. Whap, and then swoosh makes a stunning debut with 4 usage because the Riddler gets a sword and they keep going swoosh, 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 and it's different colors at least at the times. And then so the season tally now, we've had a major jump for Pow with 13. Biff jumps up here and Crunch with 7. They move up. Zap, Oof with 4 O's and Bam are at 6. Boff, Karak with 4 or with 5, and then with 4, Kapow, Zwap, Zlonk, and Swoosh debuts with 4. I don't think it's going to move much further. Then with 3, Crunch with a K, Wham, Crash, Zock, Thwap, and Sock. With 2, we have Bonk, Rack, Thwack, Awk with 5 Ks, and then Thunk. And then the rest of them have just 1. So that's where we're at. But did you like the idea of solo fights? You get 2 fights for the price of 1. But
Um, Honestly, it just seemed like, okay, it didn't stand out to me as anything one way or another.
mhm,
Partially because I didn't think the fights were all that impressive either way.
right.
Again, this feels like they are figuring that they're already stuck in a rut and trying to figure out how to keep themselves interested in the show that they are making.
Right. I think part of it
Because
is too is like they're starting to get the feedback. Like the past like maybe 3 stories feel like okay, this is the ones you started writing after you know what people like about the show or have watched the show. And they used to go episodes without fights. It used to be like there was a fight in the second episode. The first one didn't have a fight. Now we're having fights in each because I think they know people like seeing the words and stuff in the fight scenes, and the music. But like you don't have to have fights all the time. There were some like Zelda the Great had no fights in them.
I'm very sad that we didn't get to see Adam West just sock Zelda in the jaw.
Right.
Bam!
Papa right
Oh,
there.
man.
So but yeah, so it's kind of a feeling like that, like they've done that. But Robin is like tied down and Batman's fighting around him. Um, but
Is this the sorry?
no,
Um, is this the first time since the Joker goes to school one where the girl tries to like plead mercy?
this yes, It
I'm curious
is.
how often that actually happens because that's considered a trope of the show, but we're almost to the end of season one. It's only happened twice.
I
And this
believe.
time, of course, he says, go fuck yourself. You go to jail.
Well, no, 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 because Falseface, his girl,
Oh,
she
that's right.
she she gets fully reformed by the end of it, including a color change of hair, moving to Australia, and then yeah, then the penguins girl is a Gotham socialite who doesn't need
Fair.
any rehabbing or anything. She's convinced he's good. That's part of it. And
Um,
so,
what it's worth, one of the Riddler's henchmen apparently is named Matches, which
yes.
I think that was before Matches Malone was in the comics. Matches
Okay.
Malone is basically an alias that Bruce Wayne sometimes uses when he needs to go undercover as a bad guy.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I think they
and
were like I think the other one had something that had to do with lighting matches too. It was like a candle gag for those two.
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Um, just because I didn't look it up in time to mention, but like Riddler's first line after, the pre-sequence when he's rambling and ranting is basically I love this line. Basically, this is when he's looking at the wax figurine of Batman, and he says something to the effect of, "If only this were the real Batman! Oh, 'tis a consummation devoutly to be wished that this too solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew." It's like that's the Riddler in a nutshell, right there.
Yeah, right there. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Because like, did that
Um,
make any sense? Okay.
no, but he wrote it himself.
Um. Wow.
It's I think
I
it's a
wrote
Shakespeare quote, but I wouldn't know.
I wrote this part myself. The gadgets used in the episode. The Batmobile, the Batarang, Bat Rope, Bat Communicator, and the new Bat Ram on the Batmobile. That I don't know why they didn't use that first when going to the museum, but Batman opened the back door of the museum with the Bat Ram.
Um, yeah. So I mean, again, in as one of many, 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 many episodes, this one is fine.
Mhm.
It's relatively painless. I mean, it's again just having Gorshin there by itself makes
Right.
it gives it at least a little bit of a nudge.
Yeah.
Um,
But like
I mean,
Moth, who falls into the bathtub in that, which apparently was an accident on set. They kept it in and left it.
yeah, it feels organic.
Um,
Um,
we do have Robinisms still. We have Holy Paraffin Batman. This is going to be a close one. I'll show you how dead I am. No, you fiend, you destroyed the finest man that I ever lived, and I'll get you for it. And now, whenever I eat mashed potatoes, I, for one, will think of the Incas. So there's that. But yeah. Uh, anything else I got before Scott gives it the sermon? There's when Robin's tied up, so he's like, one of Aunt Harriet's nourishing meals will help, and a moth that plays around with candles is bound to be burned. Batman's not interested in rehabilitating Moth. He's like, no, get it out of my sight. Because she asks for it, and it's like, no, no, you're not getting it.
hmm.
And of course, Chief O'Hara, we mentioned, went to the Wax Museum instead of the other museum. So yeah, those
Um, yeah, other than that, I mean, is for what it's worth, the week this episode aired, Batman was on the cover of TV Guide.
are. Hmm.
So yeah, I think that goes to your point that by the time these episodes were being written, there was a certain amount of feedback, for better or worse, that could be taken into account.
Yeah.
Um, and again, that's always sort of a double-edged sword. Um, I think there's one more two-parter with the Riddler this season. It
Yes.
takes place, yeah, that's the Silent
It's
Film
the
one.
penultimate story. Yeah.
And then is John Ashton the first Riddler we see in season two, or is that later in season two?
So in season 2, there were two planned Riddler stories. The first one, they couldn't get Gorshin, and they changed. I believe it's the first one, and they changed the villain to the Puzzler,
Oh
so
yeah,
it's
there's a
not the Riddler.
classic.
And then the second one, John Ashton plays the Riddler, and then Frank Gorshin comes back for like one episode or in season 3, but he is in the movie.
Yeah,
He does
which
that.
is, I remember reading, I mean, this was, ages ago, where it's like, the villains that have the most appearances, I think it's like Penguin and Joker with 18 a pop. And it
Hmm.
sort of blew my mind that it wasn't the Riddler because
He started out
I
hot, and
feel that I see the Riddler all the time,
well, and
but that's not
Catwoman
the
has
case.
a lot, and she's the most recurring villain in season 2, but she only has
Yeah.
one in season 1 and like 2 in season 3, I think, and one of
Ah,
them is with the Joker, so he gets
yeah.
one on. She's not can't catch up when you're sharing episodes.
Um, and then you have this giant three-parter. Is that in season three or season two? Where it's
Season
the
2.
Joker
Well,
and the Joker and Penguin teaming up.
yep, that's season 2.
Yeah.
That's what our
Um,
director, the guy who directed this one, will direct that one. So,
and other than that, yeah. I mean, this is
mhm.
a run-of-the-mill episode for better or worse.
Yep.
I don't think it's aggressively bad, but I don't think it's particularly good. I mean, again, I like Gorshin doing his thing. He's clearly has made the role his own at this point, ironically.
Yeah.
Um,
When I was
and
reading this magazine, to plug it again, many moons later, 32 years later, uh they said it was very hard for them to get. They would have had him even more in this season, but it was very hard to get him to come back all the time.
well,
But
that's what
even
I'm
though Frank
wondering.
Gorshin is like, "Oh, I had so many more ideas I wanted to do and all that," I'm like, but he was working at the time. He also did Vegas shows as a comedian a lot, so he was not in Los Angeles, and he had money issues with season 2 that kept him.
Yeah, that's why, and again, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I have to wonder if the lack of cinematic razzle dazzle is maybe Frank Gorshin asked for more money than they were used to paying for the guest villains.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Again, that's total speculation. I don't want to besmirch a dead man, but,
Hmm.
and again, that's not even a criticism. He's worth the money. But, knowing that there was always a certain push pull and getting him to actually, getting him as much as he wanted to be there and they wanted him to be there, along with this episode being pretty visually dry. I don't want to say it's a
Hmm.
bottle episode, but the thought crossed my mind.
Yeah, I mean the sets aren't elaborate in this episode at all. That's one of the weaker points of it is the sets are just like, oh, okay. Um, and there's really like his henchmen have no character to them. Like that's part of it too. And it's just and it feels like despite having the opening scene where it's it's a wax figure of the Riddler talking to people, so there's no interaction with the villain and the populace. And then they go to the
Yeah.
library, but when they're in the library, they're away from everybody and everything. Like it feels very insular a lot of this episode. They don't run into a lot of people much. There's no Gotham
Um,
populace. It feels very
yeah,
much
it's very
shot in rooms
claustrophobic.
and yeah, very claustrophobic. So
And it's close to that thing that we always complain about in superhero fiction where, you know, whether it's a movie or a show where like the heroes and villains only interact with each other.
yeah, yeah. We do have the librarian in the first part, but in the second part we have like none of that
Yeah.
at all.
I do appreciate in the library that there's basically a sign that says, with an arrow like vault, old books here, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Well,
Which
Alfred
is
doesn't
very
even
helpful.
appear in the second episode. He's gone.
Oh wow, you're right.
Yeah. It's one of the few
Um,
episodes without Alan Napier. So
um, but yeah, I mean, I think more than any of the ones that we've seen so far, this one feels like sort of Batman Mad Libs, where like the plot is generic enough that you could have fashioned it to whichever villain you were able to get for that filming period.
yeah.
I mean, if Caesar Romero, then I guess he's looking for a joke book. But because it's the Riddler and they whatever, it's a book of Inca clues to a treasure. Okay, fine,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
these are like we haven't got to King Tut yet, but
yeah.
these exhibits and stuff are a hot topic of the time. And it's hard to explain to people how exquisite and exotic these were because um like the Zelda episode had tombs and like the Egyptian like sarcophagus and stuff in it too. And then here we are with these traveling exhibits. Like I mean, I'll get into it more with the King Tut episode, but like there's a reason they made a villain like King Tut because of what was
Oh
popular
yeah,
in
I
pop culture. I
absolutely
mean,
agree.
so
Um,
that's that's what's going on. So like there
um,
it's trying to touch on something culturally relevant, but also it's really not making it part of the plot. Like it could be a book that leads to something. Like there's nothing that
Yeah.
utilizes it much at all. I mean, they have the Riddler dressed as American Revolution people instead. Like there's no
Like why?
Incan vibe and stuff. So
No, it does feel very random and arbitrary in that sense.
yeah,
Because yeah, you're absolutely right. And even when I was a kid and you were a kid, they still talked, we still learned about, Egyptian history in a way that
oh
didn't
yeah,
sound cool and grotesque and like, oh, neat. They're teaching us about people's brains being sucked into their nose. Science history is fun today.
right, yeah,
Um,
yeah. It was still the hangover from this period.
yeah.
And then when the
And
'90s hit, it was all dinosaurs. Stole the thunder.
Thanks, Steven.
It was even
Damn you,
before
Frankie.
Steven Spielberg. There was like because
Oh,
there
yeah,
was some like Jurassic Park came out and it was a huge hit no matter what. But at the time, people were really into dinosaurs
Oh,
going
yeah.
into Jurassic Park
I mean,
too.
yeah, the fact that Spielberg was making a big budget dinosaur movie
Mhm.
was in itself, oh shit, Spielberg's doing a movie about dinosaurs.
Yeah,
Awesome.
there were traveling dinosaur exhibits to zoos during the summers during that time that
Yeah.
were crazy. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure the dinos were all fake though, but yeah.
real to me, damn it. So very cool, very cool. But yeah, I think we've talked this one up
Yeah.
quite a bit because I mean it's out of context, probably the best way to enjoy this one. But when you're going in the order, you've seen a lot better, including the previous couple leading up to this have been like that. I love the Catwoman two-parter, and the Penguin Goes Straight's a fun one as well. But this is just like, well, we got Gorsham back, and we're just gonna let him. Well, he's back. That'll do a lot of the lifting for us. So,
Like script, Gorshin monologues here.
yes, have Frank write the
Yeah.
monologue. So, but yeah,
Um,
so Scott, you'll return when we do the commentary for the movie coming this summer. And pick up there. But until then, where can people keep up with you?
I am a semi-regular contributor at Puck News. I write, run, and maintain the Outside Scoop over at Substack. I do a weekly podcast called the Box Office Podcast, where it's myself and usually Lisa Lehman, who's a freelance box office pundit, Jeremy Fooster of The Wrap, he's their labor and box office reporter, and the three of us, along with, when he's able to participate, engineer, producer / when he wants to speak up, Max Deering, and usually 2 or 3 other guests that are younger, cooler, more culturally relevant box office pundits and film scholars who discuss what happened last weekend in a theater near you. I'm also on all the socials at some variation of Scott Mendelson.
All right. I'm on those same socials at Brandon4KUHD. You can check out the Titan Award winning book, Fantastic, Fantastic, a celebration of fans discovering Doctor Who, which is available from Zeppo Publishing, which makes me an award-winning author. Oh, yeah. And
I'm the only one that doesn't have awards.
yeah. Also, Doctor on Display, the USA Tour is now available from Real Time Pictures via timetraveltv.com. Buy the DVD. Also, I'll be at PopCon May 8th through 10th, once again, hosting the podcast stage, which is full already. It was full a month ago. I'm very happy with that. And as well, we'll be having the podcast awards on Friday, May 8th at 7 p.m., and I will be hosting those as well. Come to PopCon. It's a good time. More information at popcon.us. Next week on Batman, the Joker's back, and so is Kat Fitzpatrick to discuss the episode. Until then, stay film positive.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.